740 here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. You are listening to the Metro South Morning Show, PM in the AM. Peter Czymbor and Mike Paiva here with you on this Tuesday morning. And Mike, we're about to introduce someone into our studio who has been in studio before and has been a guest frequently on our program, but for the first time, we welcome in the mayor of Brockton, Bill Carpenter, to the Metro South Morning Show, PM in the AM. Bill, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys. Good morning to everyone out there in the listening land, and great to be back here on PM in the AM.
Bill, it's been less than 24 hours since you've been in office. What have you accomplished so far?
Well, I think I've managed not to screw anything up so far.
Okay, well, that's a start. Very good start.
Yeah. I think we're off to a great start, and I don't think it's because of anything that happened in the last 24 hours, but we've been working hard since 2 days after the election, and I really believed coming into office that what we were able to get done during November and December during the transition would really be a big factor in how our first 6 months in office would go. So, I've been putting in the 14-plus hour days since early November. I feel very good about the team we've got in the mayor's office. I feel very good about many of the initiatives we're already working on, and we went to work, God's honest truth. We got back to the office about 2:30 after the luncheon at Thorny Lee yesterday, and we had a 3 o'clock meeting in my office with a number of different people, and we were there until well into the evening. So the work did begin yesterday. Once the formalities and festivities were over, we went to work, and the work continues today. And I just ask people to have a little patience with me. We have so many things we want to get accomplished and that we will get accomplished over the next 2 years. But we can't make them all happen on day one. But I think that over the period of these first few months, people will notice changes. They will notice differences. They will see some of the new initiatives being implemented. And we're going to get this city going again.
What are some of the things that you started to implement during the time of transition with your transition team that you've already started to implement, and what are some things that you hope to do in the next few weeks?
Well, it's a combination of work that's been done and also a lot of research and getting myself up to speed. So I think probably two of the areas where I've spent a lot of time already. First is on information technology. I'll tell you that, I've already got the IT department working on a new website. We're working on a new website that will be able to do a lot of things that the current one doesn't. And along those lines, one of the commitments I made during the campaign was to get city licensing and permits available online, which is done in most of the major cities around the Commonwealth, and Brockton has not had that capability. So we're working on online licensing and permitting. We're working on developing a new website. Matter of fact, I know I've got a meeting with the IT people on my schedule for today. I think those are going to be important changes. Part of that with the website and the technology, you're going to see, as you guys are very familiar with, you'll see me using social media a lot more than it's ever been used in government before.
We thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel.
Well, that's right, and we just changed the name on mine, but not on my YouTube channel, but I am going to start tweeting probably today, and the mayor will be tweeting because I think that's how you stay in touch with folks, and along with Facebook and Instagram and a revamped website, I will be producing a weekly video. Once we have one of the new features of the new website will be a short, probably 3 or 4 minute or so message from me directly to the residents of the city on a weekly basis that will be done on video in the mayor's office and posted on our website every week, because I think it's important for the folks who live in the city to know what we are doing on a weekly basis. And, it could be anything from major announcements to, don't forget Saturday's the Jingle Ball Run. I mean, I just want it to be a kind of a snapshot of what's going on in city government and the mayor's office on a weekly basis. So a lot of work on the IT side. Now, that's the part that the public will see. But there's also, we've already started working on how do we make government operate much more efficiently. The phrase I used in my speech yesterday was, better, faster, cheaper. And we can do that with information technology. And in the 21st century, how does a city like Brockton deliver constituent services on a timely, responsive basis with less people working for us than we used to have? And then the answer is very simple. It's by implementing information technology. And so that's something that won't change overnight. That'll be systematically implementing as we go along. but I'm looking at having the city of Brockton join what's called the CityNet model, which is already being used in over 20 communities in Massachusetts, which is accumulating critical data on a daily basis and then being able to convert it into management and budgetary reports so that as the mayor, I can make management decisions and budget decisions on quality, timely, accurate data. We have to start doing budgets differently. We can't, this idea of, okay, we'll take last year's budget and we'll go up 5% on this and we'll go down 5% on that. It's not done that way anymore in most places. We need performance-based budgeting. We need to figure out what exactly is it that we're doing, how are we doing it, how can we do it best, how much does it cost, and then the mayor working with the city council, because obviously the budget is a joint venture between the mayor and the city council. We need then to make the decisions as to where do we best spend our money each year, how does it best benefit the people who live here in the city. So that's something that you won't really see on a day-to-day basis, but we're working on it behind the scenes. And I think in general, Peter, answering your original question as to, what types of things we've been working on for the last 2 months, I've already spent a lot of time working on the budget. I meet with the CFO, Mr. Condon, probably during the transition period. I met with him every other day, and I'll probably be meeting with him much more closely to daily now because I'm coming in the middle of a fiscal year. So, I'm sworn in on January 6th. We're already working on the budget. They're already working on the budget, and we have to have a budget completed and submitted to the city council for the 1st of June. So I'm coming in the middle of a budget year, which makes it very difficult for many of the initiatives that I want to implement to help improve the budget and to hold the line on taxes. Those can't take place and have an effect fast enough for the budget that we're already working on because I'm coming in the middle of the year. So I think as we look at the budget, it will be a combination of short-range and long-range planning, things that we can implement that will benefit the city for years to come in the future, along with some tough decisions we'll have to make right now over the next 3 to 4 months in terms of how we balance this year's budget without impacting city services, but without raising taxes.
You mentioned that during the time of transition you met with John Condon, the financial officer, more or less every other day during that time. A lot was made about your transition team. What was it a transition team meeting like under the Bill Carpenter administration? And what happened with Moses Rodriguez? Because much was made of his departure in local media.
Way too much was made. First, I'll tell you that I have a great relationship with Moses Rodriguez, and he's been very supportive to me in a couple meetings that I've had with him recently. Listen, I kind of knew what I was doing when I put the transition team together. I put 11 people together that came from widely different backgrounds with widely different views and different skill sets. And I encouraged differences of opinion because I really wanted to make sure that I was getting all the possible information I could get so that I could make good decisions. And I think that will be my management style as mayor. I don't want to be surrounded by yes people. I want to be surrounded by people who challenge me, and particularly if they feel I'm not making a good decision. Does that mean I'll always change my mind? No, but I think it'll mean that at times I'll take a step back and reconsider a little bit further before going ahead with a decision, and I think that will help me to make better decisions and make less mistakes. So there's no doubt that we I put together 11 people on a transition team that have a lot of different ideas and backgrounds and agendas, and that's fine. And I guess the meeting, I think that where Moses had an issue with something that was said or done, I wasn't even at. So there's no problem between Moses and I. We've met a couple times recently. I made it a point to note that when I noted that the 3 new city councilors who came on the council yesterday with me, including Shana Barnes and Moses Rodriguez, I made it a point in my speech to say that they are changing the landscape of city government. And I believe that, and I welcome it, and I can have great working relationships with people that I don't have to necessarily agree with all of the time. And, I'm sure with 11 city councilors, I'll never agree with all of them all of the time. But I've tried very hard talking about, Peter, your question, what were some of the things I was doing during the transition period over the last 2 months. I met with every single city councilor, all 11, individually for an hour each during that time over the course of about a 2 or 3 week period that I did the meetings. To the best of my knowledge, an incoming mayor has never done that. And I'm very hopeful that that's going to help begin a good working relationship between the council and the mayor. And I listened carefully to what the councilors had to say and took a lot of notes. And I also tried to give them some insight into some things that I intended to be working on during the first 6 months, so they would have an idea of some of the types of things I would be bringing to the council for their consideration, so that I can have a chance to have some two-way dialogue with them before I bring an initiative to the council, which I think is the best way to have a working relationship. And again, I don't expect we're always going to agree, and I don't expect a lot of 11-0 votes. But what I am really planning on is a great, open, respectful working relationship between the council and the mayor. Because I think that's, at the end of the day, I believe we all ran for office because we want what's best for the city. And what's best for the city is for the council and the mayor to work well together. That's what's best for the future of Brockton. And, I'm going to do everything I can to foster that and make that happen.
Once again, we're chatting with the mayor of Brockton, Bill Carpenter, here on WXBR. You talk about your working relationship with the various city councilors in Brockton. One major issue during the election that really hasn't been spoken about since the election ended was the proposed power plant in Brockton.
I know, made page 2 of the newspaper on Sunday.
Perhaps I'm wrong by saying that then. Well, you were a proponent for a good deal with the power plant coming to Brockton. It seemed like, to my knowledge, all of the councilors currently oppose the power plant. How will that come into play as your administration progresses?
We're going to work together, and I think that what I said during the campaign, I think when people say I'm a proponent of the power plant, that's not completely accurate. I took a position during the campaign. I still feel the same way, that when I look at where the legal challenges stand, the amount of money that's been spent, the negative impact that this 8-year debate has had on the city, that I said that it was time to re-examine our position. And I felt coming in that reaching a settlement with the developers of the plant is what would be in the best interest of the city. But I said quite clearly that I would only reach a settlement if it was a good deal that was in the best interest of the taxpayers and residents of the city. So I'll tell you what I did on yesterday, and I told the councilors in advance what my plans were, and I've asked the city solicitor to prepare a report for me on exactly what the current status is of all of the outstanding litigation between the city and the developers, Advanced Power. There are a couple matters due to come up to be argued in front of the Supreme Judicial Court, I believe, in March. There are administrative appeals going on within DEP around the air permit, and there's also a $68 million civil rights lawsuit that's progressing, and that's costing the city a ton of money in outside legal fees, because not only are we defending the city, we're defending half a dozen individual defendants that all have their own counsel, all running on the city's tab. So what I've said coming in, what I emphasize to the councilors, that I'm not coming in on day one with 2 six-shooters blaring and I'm going to go out there with the shovel and start building the plant. No, I'm going to do my due diligence, and that started yesterday. I've asked the solicitor to prepare for me a report on what all of the outstanding litigation is, where is it up till today, where does it stand today, and what's a reasonable expectation of where it's going forward. And that's a big project. They're going to put that all together for me in the solicitor's office. At the same time, I've asked the CFO, Mr. Condon, to provide me with a report as to how much money have we spent in this litigation with the developers up until now. Not just the outside legal fees, inside legal fees, consultants that have been hired. I'd like to know how much we're spending, because I am the CFO and I am the person who's going to prepare the budget. So I'd like to know what we've spent, what we are currently spending today, and in conjunction with that solicitor's report, what we're going to spend going forward. So that's where we're starting. I want to see what the litigation is, how much it's costing us, where we think it's going. And I pledge to the councilors in the individual meetings that when I am provided with all that information, I will share it privately with the councilors. I think that's where we start. And I think that, so, Peter, you're right. I think publicly we have differences of opinion on this. But I think that by approaching it professionally and cautiously and by sharing the information with the councilors, that whether they agree with decisions I make or not, I will have at least given them the insight as to what my thinking is and the decisions that I do make going forward.
In your inauguration speech yesterday, Bill, you said that Brockton has a quote-unquote anti-business climate.
Yes.
What can be done to make Brockton more attractive to outside business owners and developers?
There's a lot, and that's another area I spent some time on during the transition was economic development. I've met with business leaders already. I've sat at a business roundtable at the Chamber of Commerce where they basically surrounded me with about 25 business leaders from the city, and I answered questions in front of that group. I've met with the executive director of Mass Development to see what further development we can spur in the city. So, Mike, there's a lot of things we can do, and again, some that we can do short range, and others that will take more time. Putting permits and licenses online. The first one we're going to get online is the building permit, something I talked about during the campaign. That's business friendly. I think that we need to change the makeup of some of the city boards and get some people on some of these boards that will interact better. I think something that the city council has already done a lot of work on and that I will implement working side by side with the council is a city planning office that's long overdue. One of the complaints I hear from developers who don't want to do business in Brockton anymore is that Brockton doesn't even know what it wants, that we don't have a master plan. We don't have plans for target areas of the city, and developers feel like that whenever they don't know what to bring to us, and when they do bring something to us, they have no idea how we're going to respond to it. So we need an effective planning office. We need an effective economic development office. I do believe those are two different functions and two different skill sets. But there will be a focus on economic development, making us more business friendly. I think it's changing the approach that the city has. I think it's, streamlining, providing better service, streamlining how we issue permits and licenses. I think it's developing a working system where that if a developer brings something forward to the planning board or to the ZBA, and those boards have concerns, as they should. That's their job. They're gatekeepers. I want good development. I don't want just any. That's the problem we have right now. There's a mishmash of things across the city, but there's no real plan. I want good, smart development, but I want to work closely with investors and developers. So I think business-friendly means being more supportive of small business in the city, which I think we've overlooked the small businesses that are here. I think it's fostering entrepreneurship by doing things like we're going to work with the Workforce Investment Board in creating a tech hub in downtown Brockton. We need to, young entrepreneurs today, they're working online. You need to provide a support system so that young people who have good ideas but not a lot of money have a place to develop in a high-tech environment. So that means providing a tech hub area with some supports, with high-speed internet access, cheap or free space to work in. It means maybe that when we develop the plan for downtown Brockton, that we create some zoning for some combined live-in workspaces, which has worked in other cities, and we don't have that here. We're working on a program right now. We've already been in contact with Google to have a program here in the city through the mayor's office that will offer free websites to small businesses. I mean, this is something we can do if we can help a struggling small business get a good website online that can help them grow and develop. That's a shot in the arm. That we don't do those types of things right now. And I think to a certain extent, Mike, it starts in my office, my approach. I plan to be an ambassador for the city. I'll probably be in the office a little bit less than some other mayors have been because I think my job is to be out there. I've got great people working for me that can run the office. I need to be out there talking to people, being an ambassador, encouraging entrepreneurship, helping to support small business, and helping to attract businesses outside of Brockton to come here because we have a lot to offer. And we've got to do a better job of making businesses aware of what we do have to offer here, but it starts with changing that notion that it's difficult to do business here. And I said this during the campaign, and I said it to my staff yesterday. Someone shows up at Brockton City Hall, and they're interested in developing or rehabbing a building or starting a business or bringing a business here. I don't care what I'm doing. If I'm in the building, I want someone to come get me so I can just spend 2 minutes with that person, personally thank them for their interest in the city of Brockton, and assign someone from my staff to help them find their way around City Hall, be introduced to the right people, and do whatever we can to make it easy for that business or that developer to do business here. And going forward, and I think you'll see this happen during the first year, as I work out the specifics with the council on a city planning office and on what an economic development office should look like, and I mentioned it in my speech yesterday, my vision is to have city planning, redevelopment, and economic development all under one roof somewhere, because I think that busy business executives and developers, they want one-stop shopping. And we need to have all of those functions operating under one roof, all coordinated with each other, so that if someone is thinking about maybe bringing a business into Brockton or doing a development here, that they can make an appointment, come in, talk to the city planner, talk to the economic development person, meet with the BRA. We need to have all those services under one roof, and that roof needs to be somewhere in the downtown business district.
We're chatting with Mayor Bill Carpenter here on WXBR, Mayor of Brockton. We'll go slightly over the news break. You mentioned that you see yourself as an ambassador to the city, and you might not be in the office as much as, say, previous mayors because you have good people in your office. Within the last 2 weeks, you did announce who your staff would be. The names are out there. Tell us who they are and how you went about selecting them, some of whom we're familiar with here on our program.
I think we've got a great mix of folks. I did ask 2 members of the Balzotti administration to stay over. I thought it was important to have some continuity. I don't know that completely cleaning house when you're coming in is a good business decision. I think you need to have some continuity. And I identified a couple people on Mayor Balzotti's staff that I really like a lot and I felt would work very well in my team. So I asked Sylvia Carvalho and Corin Cappiello to stay on board, and they agreed to do so. And I'm very happy that they did. Corin is the Director of Social Services and is very involved in many of the anti-gang and youth initiatives in the city. She does a lot of great work. She's got grant writing expertise. And I know I've known Corin for a few years. I know she's a really hardworking person, and she'd make a great member of the team. Sylvia, I'll be Sylvia's 4th mayor. So I don't want to think I'm that much smarter than the previous 3. I think that she's just highly regarded as the office manager in the mayor's office and is a huge asset to us getting started, having that office manager stay in place. But I brought some new folks in, too. And I brought Fred Fontaine in to be Director of Community Relations. Fred's, you talk about someone who's an ambassador, that's Fred Fontaine. And Fred crosses all lines. He's active in the Haitian community, but he's also very active in the business community. He's out and seen all over the city. And I don't know anyone who doesn't like Fred. So I thought Fred was a perfect fit to be my representative out in the various communities around the city. I brought in Carla DeRosa to be my Director of Constituent Services. Carla's a Brockton High graduate. She's worked for a number of years at the Neighborhood Health Center. She's a certified translator in Cape Verdean Creole and Portuguese and English. So she's multilingual. She's got great customer service experience right here in the downtown of the city. She's active in the Cape Verdean community. I thought she was a great fit for me in the mayor's office, and I was very excited when she agreed to come on board. I've got a young man coming in who actually won't be starting until the 1st of February. But Nick Giaquinto is not a Brockton resident right now, but he will be. But he's got Brockton roots. His mother and his grandparents grew up here in the city, and he spent a lot of time in the city as a youngster growing up. But Nick has got great experience up on Beacon Hill. He works for the vice chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, and that's the 2nd state rep he's worked for. So he's finishing up his master's in public administration at UMass Boston. He's got 4 years experience already working in the State House. So he's going to be our liaison with both business and government. He already knows his way around government, and I think he'll be a big asset to us. And finally, a guy I think you guys are pretty familiar with, Nubi Reto, is going to be is now my director of communications. And I've known Nubi since he was a kid, and he's done great work over at Brockton Community Access for years. Like Carla, like Nick, he's young, he's energetic, and I think this is a great opportunity for someone like Nubi, and he's going to bring a great work ethic, a lot of enthusiasm, and he already has great expertise in communications with another Brockton High graduate and a graduate of Bridgewater State University, and with all his great work over the years at BCA, and he's also got some expertise with social media that's going to be very helpful in the mayor's office. But honestly, the way the mayor's office is going to operate on a day-to-day basis, everyone has their assigned responsibilities, but I really think I've built a team, and we're all constituent services, and I think that, over these next few months, as I get to know everyone in City Hall, if there's one message I will be bringing throughout City Hall, is that in my view, every single employee of the city of Brockton works in constituent services. I don't care if you're out there fixing a water pipe or you're helping someone at the counter in City Hall. We're all constituent services. We all need to be responsive, provide the best possible service we can, and treat everyone we encounter with courtesy and respect. And I hope that that's if there's something that people recognize as a message that's coming from me in terms of how we operate city government, that's what it will be. And I think everyone in the mayor's office that I put on the team is 100% on board with this idea that we are all constituent services. We all have our responsibilities. Oh, I almost forgot my chief of staff, Bob Buckley.
I was going to say.
Yeah, only the guy who's running the office, yeah. And, there have been a couple newspaper articles done on my relationship with Bob, and we've been personal friends for over 25 years, or about 25 years.
He's probably best known to our listeners for being your broadcast partner.
That's right.
For Brockton
That's
Boxers
right.
football
Last
here on AM 1460.
8 or 9 years in the broadcast booth doing football together, and I just have tremendous confidence in Bob. And here's an area where the transition team really did impact a decision I had to make. Because what was really emphasized to me from we had 2 chiefs of staff and another key mayor's office member on the transition team, 3 people who had years of experience actually working in the mayor's office. And what they all impressed upon me was that when I was selecting a chief of staff, I really needed to choose someone who had a great work ethic, who was willing to put in the 12-hour days, because that's what the chief of staff's job is, and someone who I had complete confidence in, because, the chief of staff is the number one person at the mayor's side, and there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days, but the mayor has to believe that their chief of staff always has their back, is always there doing what's in the city's best interest, but also is there to help and support the mayor. And so, the more I listen to people from some of the previous administrations talk about what the qualities are of a good chief of staff, I just kept coming back to Bob, because Bob's got a tremendous work ethic. He cares deeply about the city and the people in the city. He's been teaching 8th grade English down at the Davis School for a number of years. He's very involved with the kids. He coaches basketball. He coaches the drama club, or advises the drama club. I've watched him for years be very invested and committed to the young people in the city. He's got a tremendous work ethic, and I would trust the guy with my life. So that's how I came to select Bob, and I think that Bob is going to become a great chief of staff.
My final question before we let you go this morning. We mentioned that Bob Buckley, probably best known to our listeners at the very least, as being your broadcast partner.
And a former sports editor of the Enterprise newspaper before he went on to go on his public teaching career. And that was another one of the reasons. The mayor's office has to be good at media. And so I thought by having someone like Bob with newspaper experience as the chief of staff, that was another big asset of his.
Well, Bob has media experience. Newbie has media experience.
Right.
You have media experience. And
right.
Outside of your work broadcasting Brockton Boxers football, basketball, and hockey here on AM 1460 for a number of years, you hosted the Friday morning Newsline program, which frequently I would board op, or Mike would board op fairly regularly.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about this.
Well, let me tell you a quick side. Former Mayor Harrington reminded me about this yesterday morning he came in to see me before I went in for the inauguration, and he said he was looking forward to seeing people bash me the same way I had bashed him.
He was getting to my question.
Yeah.
He knew it was coming.
You were very outspoken and sometimes outright critical of people in
Yes.
city government while
Right.
you were doing that show, some of whom you have to work alongside now.
Right.
What's the relationship with those folks, and do they remember certain things that you may have been critical about them years back?
They absolutely all remember, no doubt about that. I think, though, let me give you a couple of perspectives on that. First of all, if you saw some of the stuff I endured during the campaign, I don't think I can take much more heat than I've already taken. So I think I've shown that I'm a person that can not wilt under pressure and handle really tough criticism. And if you can't do that, you probably shouldn't run for mayor. So I accept the fact that it's part of the job. And I think during the campaign, even when I was subject to the toughest criticism, I don't think you ever saw or heard me respond in any type of personal or negative way. It's part of the business, and I understand that. The only part I ever had a problem with was when my family was involved, because I always felt like I signed up for this, my family members didn't. So, but that's the only issue I've ever had with it, and I think that's probably common of all elected officials. So I've already handled it, and I think I've shown I can handle it, and I can handle it professionally and positively. But it's certainly there are some people, and I think that, and here's the difference between the radio talk show and some of the online stuff that happens. I think, Peter, over all those years, I always maintained good relationships, even with people. I mean, Jack Units would call me once in a while. Jim Harrington would call me once in a while. A couple school superintendents would call me once in a while, along with other city officials, to explain to me how misguided they believed I was. But I always kept good personal relationships with all those folks. And there were absolutely a couple times that I disagreed with Mayor Harrington and would criticize something that he had done on the air. But at the same token, I could meet him for a beer and a pizza after work and talk about it. So I think that, as opposed to the criticism of today that comes anonymously online in many cases, with the talk show, I never said anything on the talk show that I wasn't willing to say to somebody's face. I owned everything I said. I made mistakes, and when I made mistakes, I admitted my mistakes. So I think that I really don't have problems with the relationships of any people that I may have at one time or another criticized or questioned on the air, because I think that I've always worked very hard to keep good personal relationships with people and to be honest and open and own anything that I did say, be willing to correct it if I was wrong, and stand by it if I thought I was right. So at the end of the day, I think so long as people respect you, that's okay. I'm not going to be best friends with everyone I work with in city government. But so long as they respect me and they do their job, we're going to be good.
Well, Bill, we want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come in this morning. Your first in-studio appearance with
That's
us
right.
as mayor of Brockton.
My first official interview as mayor.
Well, we're glad we could have that. Any final words for our listeners this morning?
I just want to just say how thankful and grateful I am to the residents of Brockton for placing their trust in me and giving me this opportunity to lead the city. And over the next couple of years, you're going to get every ounce of effort that I've got, and I will do the best job I possibly can. I will be open. I will be responsive. Yes, we will make some mistakes, because I don't think you can manage properly if you're afraid to make mistakes. So we'll make an occasional mistake, and we'll own it. We'll learn from it, and we'll go forward. But I will be open. I will be accessible. I will do the best job I possibly can. I honestly, guys, I ran for mayor because I really do believe our city, Brockton, is a city at a crossroads right now. The economy here is stagnant. So many Brockton families are hurting financially. So many people have lost their homes. The violent crime is out of control. We've got gang leaders and drug dealers that are controlling neighborhoods in the city. I've got senior citizens that are afraid to leave their apartment at night. I've got parents who are afraid when their kids walk to school every day. So we are a city at a crossroads, and there are some big challenges in front of us. But I believe that we can overcome these challenges. I still believe Brockton is a great city. I love this city. Anyone that knows me knows that I love this city. I love being part of this city. You don't have to have been born here to love this city, and I don't think anyone loves Brockton more than I do. And as one of the things I mentioned in my speech yesterday, I want to bring back people who have left. There are plenty of residents and businesses that right now today are thinking about leaving, and I want to convince them to stay. And I also want to get this economy going so that folks who have been left behind can now be included in a new prosperity for this city. So we're going to get the neighborhoods safer. We're going to get the economy going in this city. We're going to make Brockton a livable city, a place where, families want to raise their children, and a place where businesses want to grow their businesses. And that's my vision for the future of the city. I know we can't get there overnight, but with the support of the folks here in the city, we will accomplish that. We will make it happen.
Well, we look forward to speaking with you in the coming months, as you'll be making regular appearances in the station, both on our show and on Ron Van Dam's show. And we look forward to following your administration, Bill.
All right. Hey, guys, thanks so much for having me. And as you guys know, I have a long part-time history, but I have a long history with the station. I mean, when I first started doing my first talk show sports talk show on Monday nights on WBET, the station was still playing music. It was still a music station. Steve Mason was the evening DJ or announcer playing music, and used to stay after on Monday nights to produce my show. I worked with so many wonderful people here over the years, and I do believe that local radio stations and local newspaper, they're a very important part of the fabric of the city. I think that, XBR is where people can get the local news and follow what's going on in local government and Brockton High sports and all of those things. So to the best of my ability, I will be happy to make myself available and communicate with many residents of the city through the radio station, along with my website, my Facebook page, and my Twitter.
All right. And by the way, real quick, I know I said the last question like 10 minutes ago.
It's okay.
You got like 3 Twitters. Which one's real?
We're going to make that. That's another appointment.
Okay.
Today I have a meeting with.
It's not verified yet.
No, I have a meeting with Newbie Ratos. If you remember, I said at the very top I was going to begin tweeting today.
Okay.
Well, prior to that, we have to make that decision that you. The Twitter handle that I wanted. See, here's part of what's happened, Peter. We now transition from campaigning to governing, and it's 2 very different things. The campaign, the election, they were over back on November. Now we're governing. So I want there to be an important Facebook and Twitter presence that's linked to this new city website when we launch the new website. But I needed to change the names. So the Facebook was easy. We just changed it from Bill Carpenter for mayor to Mayor Bill Carpenter. That was an easy one. The Twitter was It Takes a Carpenter. No real way to use that as the mayor. Now, it was a campaign slogan. There's no way getting around it. I'm going to need a new motto at some point that to lead the city with that provides a good positive image of the city. So the Twitter handle that I really wanted was Mayor Bill Carpenter, which is too many letters. So then I said, well, then Mayor Carpenter would work. And that's what I thought we were going to go with until they just informed me over the weekend that Mayor Carpenter is already taken. It's not available. So that's why we've been playing with a couple different ones, trying to see. So if anyone wants to weigh in on what they think it should be.
Mayor Carpy. There you go.
Yeah, I'll tell you the one I'm leaning towards, and it's one of the ones I think that we've put up. I think Mayor of Brockton is one we've put, and the other one was Mayor Bill Carp. So I'm leaning towards the Mayor Bill Carp only because it sounds more like what younger people on Twitter abbreviate names, and it's not always your real name. So I'm leaning towards Mayor Bill Carp, but we actually one of my meetings on today's schedule, Peter, is to sit down with Newbie and Bob Buckley and make a decision as to what the Twitter handle is going to be so I can start using it.
Well, we trust Newbie to make that decision correctly.
Well, what do you guys think? You guys are very hip, young, Twitter type of guys.
Okay, here's my thought.
Yeah.
There was at Mayor of Brockton.
Because I'm still open-minded on this. The decision hasn't been made.
Here's my thought. There was at Mayor of Brockton. That's very easy. But then I was thinking to myself, what's going to happen? Someday you might not be mayor.
Right.
Does that Twitter transfer to the next mayor? I don't know.
Only if I do. Only if I let it go, it'd be my account.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was thinking that. I'm like, will Bill still be like at mayor of Brockton?
Right.
20 years when he's no longer mayor?
And I thought of that, and I may want to, just because I'm no longer mayor, it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop tweeting. I'll have just gone on to the next phase of my life, and I'll still want to keep my followers,
Exactly.
I would think. So
maybe Bill Carp will be it.
Yeah. Well,
that was my
or Mayor Bill Carp. I was trying to have something so that when people search, they can find it also. So if someone's doing a quick search to find you on Twitter, that I'd have a key word or two in there that would make it easier for people to find us. I mean, what I found is even if I were no longer the mayor, which I hope is a long time into the future, but at whatever point that may be, former mayors are still referred to as mayor. I call Jack Unitz mayor. I call Jim Harrington mayor. I will continue to address Mayor Balzotti as mayor. So I think the mayor part kind of sticks with you even when you're no longer the active mayor.
Well, we had 3 Bill Carpenters following us. I did not know which one was real. Now we'll get a verified account later on today.
Yeah, we hope to make that decision in the next 24 hours so I can start tweeting as the mayor.
That's Mayor Bill Carpenter joining us here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. Bill, thank you.
Hey, so great to be with you guys. Thanks so much, and hope everyone has a great day.
We'll step aside for a quick break. Back with more of the show after this.